Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the John Doe Review. My name is Danielle John Doe, obviously. I got this little mic on me, and guys, I don't have many topics, but I feel like I have interesting topics to talk about this episode. Our list for today is going to be my first controversy. Being massaged by a little European lady who rocked my world, Bridgerton season 4, and lastly, oh yeah, I'm getting into cooking and baking, which if you know me, I do not bake until recently. And then obviously, I'm gonna have to rate everything because this is the John Doe review. So I'm gonna rate my last 2 weeks out of 5, and you have to stay until the end to figure out what I give the last 2 weeks. Here we go. Okay, guys. Some of you probably know this. Some of you may not. I got into my first controversial take online, and it was kind of crazy. So basically, if you watched episode 4, which if you're in episode 5 and you haven't watched episode 4, what are you doing? Why are we jumping around? Anyways, in episode 4, I had a little story about, quote unquote, stealing toothpaste. I didn't actually steal toothpaste. I had to borrow some from a coworker, right? I'm not going to rehash that whole story, but man. So every time I post an episode from the John Doe Review, I usually post at least one little clip from the episode on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and then TikTok. My TikTok and my YouTube Shorts, fine. Little to no comments, couple of likes, little bit of engagement. Nice. My Instagram reel blew up, at least in terms for my channel, which is not very much, a little over 1,000 views. And I had to block, at this point, almost 20 grown men. And I think there were some like teenagers in there, but all angry men from that little clip from my toothpaste story. If you haven't seen the clip, go watch it. It's just a little, it's like a very condensed version of the whole story. But we're not going to rehash, but I will address, and we're going to keep it somewhat brief. If your takeaway from the toothpaste story is, and it could be any of these things or all of them, I'm entitled, male-centered, which I don't know how we got there. I don't think we know what male-centered means. And 3, I'm actually the weirdo because I spoke to someone who I didn't know, and people actually owe each other nothing ever. We're just fundamentally different people. I don't know what to say, man. Like, I was getting comments. One of them was like a full-blown paragraph, like, actually, I went to your YouTube video and I watched the entire story, and you're so entitled for this, and actually, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was raised to greet someone when you meet them for the first time. And then vice versa. If somebody greets you, you greet them in return. Verbally, you don't just stare at them and not even twitch a muscle. And that's just how I was raised. Especially in this situation. You know, I'm walking into a random person's room who has no context on why I was brought into the room by his girlfriend. Like, I'm gonna say something. And if you think that was weird of me, that's your business, man. But I'm gonna do what I believe to be polite and greet people. I'm also not of the mindset, like a good chunk of the comments were like, you know, nobody owes each other anything. Like, he doesn't owe you, you know, a hi or a no problem or whatever. I don't operate off of that. And I feel like society's kind of moving towards that, but I feel like we owe everyone politeness and manners, you know, at the bare minimum. Okay? So that's kind of my take on that. I had to block quite a few people. Oh, one person said he didn't talk to me because that would like not talking to me was him being faithful to his girlfriend. And I was like, man, if talking to the opposite sex means you're unfaithful, like, me and my husband have a very serious conversation to have. But yeah, so if I didn't like the vibe of the comment, it was an immediate block because I don't want people just in my space. But we're chilling now. Okay. Now we're gonna get into the good topic: being massaged by a little European lady. So last episode I mentioned me and Hunter, celebrated Valentine's Day, but part of our Valentine's celebration was pushed to the following Saturday because the person we wanted wasn't available. We pull up, and actually we ended up getting two different people, I guess because it was a couples massage. And so he got this girl, and her name was Butterfly, and she was really, really sweet. And I get this little short lady who has like this European accent. Like it almost sounds Russian, but I don't want to assume. And she, they take us into the room. She stands in front of me and she's not saying anything. Butterfly is talking for the both of them at this point, and I'm assuming there's probably like a little language barrier. So Butterfly asks us, all right, guys, what kind of pressure are we looking for in today's massage? And Hunter, he's like, oh yeah, this is my first massage, so we're gonna keep it medium, because the tiers were soft, medium, firm, and then deep tissue, which like my understanding is a deep tissue massage like hurts, and it's usually for like athletes or people who are trying to, like really like knead out knots and stuff in their muscles. So Hunter said medium. For me, I've only had one other massage, and it was when I had my bachelorette. And I remember walking away thinking, oh, I would have appreciated a little bit firmer pressure. And the guy who did my last massage was like a pretty muscular guy. So I'm looking at this little European lady. She's maybe 5'2". And she's standing there. And I look at her, and in my head I go, there's no, like, if I say medium, it's probably gonna be like soft. So I'm gonna say firm because I feel like she's gonna have to handle all of this. Okay, I'm 5'10" and I'm not light. so so I'm thinking, okay, I'll say firm so that I can get maybe like a medium firm from her. When I tell you, we have to strip. We get on the bed, and I put the towel over me, the music's going. She starts just pushing on me very slowly. Like she starts at my shoulders and makes it all the way down to my butt cheeks. And I was like, oh, Anna, okay. Which I didn't say, if I had any no-no zones. So she was doing her job. She starts at my shoulders, and it's like this really slow over the blanket pressure where she just puts all of her body weight and holds it there for a little, and then she moves a little down and then does the same thing all the way down to my butt. Or no, actually, I think she went to my feet for this. Anyways, then, she takes the blanket off. She starts massaging my back. And this little European lady put me through the mattress in the most professional manner. I was like, it did it hurt? Yes. Did I feel amazing after? Also, yes. It felt like low-key I was getting a deep tissue. I've never gotten a deep tissue, but she would pick a spot, like usually the ones that really hurt, it was the base of my back. And she would pick a side, put a lot of pressure in it, lean probably all of her little 115 pounds into that one spot on my back. And then she would just slowly move it up all the way to my shoulder blade. And it got to the point where, my face is squished. My face is squished in the little cushion hole. And I had to start doing breathing. I had to start doing breathing exercises. I literally was there like, and I didn't want to tap out because in my head I'm thinking I asked for firm, and this girl is giving me firm. So, she does my back and she does the rest of my body, and it like afterwards, even though the move would hurt, as soon as she would finish the move, like I could feel how loose the muscle felt. But I I get up from the bed after this hour-long massage, and she did my full body. Like she did legs, arms, back, like chest, like collarbone area, neck, a little bit of my scalp. It was crazy. But she went to town and she was very firm with her movements. And so I get up and I kind of feel like jello after an hour. And I look at her, and mind you, I'm looking down and she's just looking at me. And so I'm like, yeah, thank you. Thank you. She's still like, yeah, it was good. And I'm like, yes. And so then we walk out to pay and she sees me again. As we're like checking out, mind you, I'm like telling Hunter, like, give a tip, give a good tip, because like I was not expecting that. She sees us as we're checking out and she comes back up to me and she goes, come again? And I was like, yes. So we do plan on getting another couples massage. But I don't think I'm gonna ask for firm. And you know what? I learned my lesson from stereotyping her. Just because she's little doesn't mean she can't put me through that mattress. And was I sore the next day? Yes, but I was loose. So ultimately, she did her job. Am I a little scared of her? Yes. I'm just gonna say shout out Anna. Shout out Butterfly. She was wonderful also. Hunter had great things to say. And I've learned my lesson. Okay, I'm not a firm girly. If anything, I'll do a medium tail and press harder. Okay. Our next topic. Bridgerton season 4. Here are my thoughts. I loved it overall. I don't agree with people being like, this is a Cinderella trope, blah blah blah. Look, it's romance. It's romance. Not if anything, the majority of romance stories aren't gonna be some like mind-blowing thing. It's essentially people redoing the same concept over and over and over again. Right? And for this one, it was the concept of Cinderella, right? I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved Sophie as a love interest. I really enjoyed the side stories this season because I feel like in season 3, the side stories for me just really weren't engaging, especially the Eloise and Cressida one. I'm still slowly forgiving Eloise for that because yes, I get it. Penelope, was whistled down and said that bad stuff about her, and Penelope was messy for that. But also, I think Eloise was very messy for specifically finding your friend's bully and befriending them. That's a little crazy. But she has redeemed herself again because I do like Eloise. Still don't really like Cressida. I don't hate her though. I could see her arc. So I think eventually I will start, understanding her and liking her and whatever. I get it. It's a whole thing. Complicated characters. Francesca's side story. Wow. Spoilers if you haven't finished. John dying? Did not see that coming. Technically I did because I did see a spoiler online, but I was shocked when I saw it and then, I got to see it play out in the show. But I guess it makes sense because I was always thinking, John is this awesome, nice guy. How is she going to end up with his cousin? How does that even work? And so, yeah, it's because he literally dies. So rest in peace, John. Gone too soon. Also, I guess this is sort of a side note. I feel like the spice in this season is like way longer and like way, I don't want to say intense, but like way more like this is them, doing the do. Like I remember sitting there and I watched this with my husband and my sister-in-law and we're sitting there like they're still going. Now, when it comes to the premise of the romance itself, or not the premise, but like the main point of conflict, which is he is of nobility and she is not. And in this world that they live in, the classes cannot mix. If he were to marry her, like he would essentially have to give up everything and kind of just make her his side chick, essentially. Even their kids, like they would never get to benefit from where he comes from and all of that, which is messed up. And that's a whole different conversation. But I saw Anthony getting a lot of hate. And look, I understand where Anthony was coming from, and I kind of agree with what he was saying. And maybe that's a hot take, but I don't care. Like, we understand that this is a TV show, and so, things are always going to work out. That's kind of the thing of Bridgerton, right? There's always going to be conflict, and then the last episode is like, and they lived happily ever after. But, like, life is not like that. And I feel like Anthony telling Benedict, hey, dude, if you marry this girl, not only do you have to give up everything, it negatively affects your sisters, and you are essentially telling this woman that you love to give up everything, move to the countryside, and like birth your children and live in secret. And to me, I'm like, ugh, like even if I was in love with somebody, hearing somebody lay it out like that, I'd be like, oh yeah. Like I love them too much to reduce their life to that. And I guess some people are a part of the, let's run away and be together, blah, blah, blah. Like for me, no, like people need community. And he essentially was willing to just make her his wife and the mother of his kids. And that's it. That's all she has. And that can be enough because we're in love. Do I think Anthony was being a little bit of a hypocrite with how he was approaching it? Yes, because he had his whole thing with the opera singer. But overall, like, I think his concern was very valid. Another issue I had with Benedict, or I guess not with Benedict, but with just how he was portrayed. And I'm not hating. Calm down, put the gun down. I feel like he kind of fell a little flat as a love interest for me. And I was discussing this with some of my friends, and they kind of feel similarly. It's not like it was bad. It was not bad at all. But I think Benedict and the way his actor plays him makes a fantastic brother and a fantastic friend. But when it came to being a compelling love interest, it just really didn't hit. Like some of the scenes fell flat and would like make me feel awkward. Like for example, I keep seeing people say like, oh my God, his love confession scene is the best one of the entire show. Okay, you can have your opinion, but it like when he's in the scene going, I love you, and what is a man to do in a society that doesn't support yada yada? Like I just I'm standing there and some people are like, oh my God, it seems so sincere. But for me, like the face, the body language, the tone, it just fell a little flat. It wasn't, like middle school theater bad. But I feel like every other love interest in the series compelled me more. And now that we're talking about the other love interest, which means we're talking about the other seasons, let's go ahead and rank it because I know you're wondering what I rank it. Here we go. Here's why I'm right and you're wrong. Number 1 season, including Queen Charlotte. Okay, I'm going to rank including Queen Charlotte. Number 1, Queen Charlotte. She's not a queen for no reason, okay? That love story, when I tell you, I watched the last episode, paused the credits, laid back on my bed, and proceeded to sob. Like out loud, like, George. Like, I lost my mind a little bit there. So that season wrecked me. Number 2, season 2. Come on now. I get it. Maybe Anthony's not your cup of tea as, a love interest. Maybe he's a little too intense for you. I get that. Him and Kate, in my opinion, have had the best chemistry, not only as actors, but also just as characters. Like, their banter was so good. Their, like, arguments were just, like, I would be getting heated too. I love them. I think they're perfect for each other. Season 2 is number 2. Number 3, season 4. Okay, and that doesn't mean I hate it because I gave it 3rd place. Okay, they're still getting bronze. I just like the other 2 seasons more. Okay, and I was more compelled. I was more invested. And also, like, shout out season 4 because I loved Sophie as a love interest. Like, I would say her and Kate are really, really close for me because both of their stories were really interesting in my opinion. Not that anyone's has been boring, but like for those 2 specifically, I was really, really invested in like where they're coming from and what are their motives and all of that. For my fourth place, season one. I understand there's controversy going around with season one and some things that happen within it, but I'm basing this off of how invested and how interested was I when I first watched it. Season one had me very interested. And look, I am one for all of the cliche romance tropes. They were fake lovers to real lovers. Can you blame me? I grew up on Wattpad. And lastly, fifth place, season three. And look, no hate to Penelope, no hate to Colin, but that season was a mess. I feel like it's the only season that really breaks the molds of our primary time slot is going to be the main romance. I feel like we barely see any of the main romance in their season. And there are some people who are like, well, that's because they've been building up since season one. Okay, great. Shoot me, because I want the main interest and love story to be the main couple for the entire season. There were so many side plots, and like 99% of the side plots, I did not care. I had zero interest in keeping up, and one of them pissed me off. Eloise and Cressida, I don't want to see that. So fifth place it gets. I didn't hate it though, okay? I still watched the whole thing, but like, would I ever rewatch season three? No. Mm-mm. And can we talk about how Sophie just never looked at the fucking will? Like, what do you mean? Like, I get it, she was young when her father died, but as you age, like I'm thinking, okay, my father died, I'm young, my stepmother tells me he didn't put me in the will. I'm surprised, I'm hurt, I'm shocked, whatever. And I accept that. Sure. As I age and slowly realize that my stepmother is my op, I would immediately think to check the will because this bitch might be lying. And she was. So like, I don't know. And I get it. At the end of the day, it's all for the plot. But like, I just think I'm surprised she never thought to check for herself. And Benedict called that out. He was like, you haven't checked the will? And she's like, no, I just, I assumed my father didn't love me as much as he, girl, and you don't go and get that damn will. And then everything played out beautifully. So shout out Bridgerton. If you're into romance, look into it. It's a good watch. I wouldn't say it's a trash watch. There is trash romance out there, but it's decent. It's respectable. And like, I got my husband, he was into it. Look, and he's a guy. Guys usually don't watch romance like that, but he was set and he had a good time. So follow him. Join the club. Bridgerton. All right. We're already at my last topic, which is cooking/baking. I've really gotten into, well, I've always enjoyed cooking, but recently I've just kind of done the same recipes over and over again and I haven't explored. But there's this thing that my mom bakes that's like from our culture called bakes. And I was really craving it. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try to make these bakes, which I've never tried before. And it's like with flour and yeast and all of that. And like cooking doesn't really scare me, especially if I'm following a recipe. Baking scares me a lot because I understand it's a whole science and like you can easily ruin something. And when I cook, I'm like never measuring half the time. But baking, like you have to go by the amounts because again, it's a science. And so I made the bakes and they came out really successful. And the only reason I made the bakes in the first place is because the week before I re-attempted roti because the first time I made roti a couple years ago, I put way too much baking powder and they came out crunchy, which if you don't know what roti is, think like a flaky tortilla. That's like a little bit more chewy and like stretchy when you pull it apart. And so, that inspired me. Okay, I'm going to make the bakes now. And now, since that was a success too, I'm like, okay, maybe I should get into baking because I love bread and carbs. So I like the idea of, and I can make it at home. And so I found some online recipes that I want to try, but I'm a little scared because bread seems a little more intimidating because it's like, you have to mix it together, and then you have to let it rise, and then you have to put it in the oven, and then you have to just hope and pray. Oh, because you have to put it in a freaking Dutch oven. I didn't even know that was a thing. And it's just, all of the stuff I've done with flour thus far has been cooked on the stovetop. And so now we're about to get into the oven. I'm not even going to attempt sourdough right now. Don't suggest it in the comments. Because I'm scared, and I saw it takes like a couple of days to make. I'm going to attempt to make standard sandwich bread, and I think it's pronounced artisan bread, which is like a wannabe sourdough, but it doesn't taste the same, but like similar texture, I feel like. Those are going to be my next attempts. I hope it goes well. And if it goes well, hell fucking yeah, I can bake. So, wish me luck. I believe that is the end of this episode. I didn't have many topics to talk about because the last 2 weeks, again, have been pretty chill. Now I need to rank the past 2 weeks. I'm going to give it a solid 3.5 stars. Nothing bad has happened. I do have some stuff going on behind the scenes that I'm excited about, but I don't want to say anything just yet. You're going to have to tune in later to find out what it is. And yeah, I've just had a good last 2 weeks. Had fun times. So thank you for listening or watching. Do all the things, follow, subscribe, comment, engage. And I will see you guys on a Sunday 2 weeks from now. Bye.